Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Popcorn Watchlist podcast, where we discuss and celebrate our favorites in TV and film. I'm your host, Xavier, and today I am joined by, of course, the usual suspects, Danny and Zach. Say hello, gentlemen.
What's up, y'all?
What's up?
And today we have a special guest filling in for Anthony. We have met her before. She has great Tom Hanks insight, and she's our go-to whenever we have to talk about America's dad in films. But say hi, Tina.
Hi, everybody.
What's going on? So I take it you actually caught up on the assignment. We are here because we are continuing our weekly series on recommended films from the Popcorn Watchlist. This week's was brought to us by Zach. Zach, refresh our memory. What movie is it that we watched for today?
So last week I recommended that we watch Full Metal Jacket, which is a Vietnam era. Well, the movie takes place in the Vietnam War era, but the movie came out in like the 80s.
87. It's like 2 months before I was born. But yeah, June 26, 1987, I think. If I'm not mistaken. Danny's our fact guy. I believe he's looking that up.
It is 1987.
Yeah, 87 for sure.
I want to say it was in June. I think it was June 26th.
So I had recommended the movie because it was one I hadn't seen yet, and I kind of picked from a small pool of movies that I haven't seen and figured, oh, why not? I had seen, bits and pieces, which was really only from the first part of the movie, the first 40 minutes. I hadn't seen any scene before of anything after that. So it was like a totally different movie than what I was expecting.
Yeah, man.
And a huge tonal shift also.
Have you ever seen any other Stanley Kubrick movies? Have you seen like 2001: A Space Odyssey, A Clockwork Orange,
The Shining?
The Shining?
Nope.
Man, so yeah, you were not prepared for very Stanley Kubrick-esque, his kind of like the way he is. It's a war movie, but it's sort of like it's an anti kind of war movie, but just shot in this really stark, like almost like brutally realistic lens that he puts into this. So it's like his take, like you expecting maybe something artsy fartsy. It's like, no, hey, like this is what you see here, and it's all coming from these very like kind of like rigid and structured, especially like you said, the first 40-ish minutes in the movie in boot camp, like on Paris Island. It's this whole like everything's in proper frame, no one's focused more than everybody else. Everything's all kind of set because it's supposed to be set and regimented, because these drafted Marines are now being just broken down to their bare essentials and made into living weapons, as the gunnery sergeant says. But Danny, did we be able to check that? What date? Was that right?
Yeah, so June 1st.
Did my homework.
87.
June 1st?
Yeah.
Ooh, okay.
And then we all watched it on HBO Max.
Yep, currently on HBO Max. Obviously, these things always like swish around and they cycle in, cycle out. But yeah, I think, I've seen the movie like Zach, all bits and pieces. I've also seen it all at once, but this was a while ago, like in college. And it's a whole, like there are very small scenes in there that like I remember like very vividly, but it's like, oh, I forgot it's from Full Metal Jacket. Like, because sometimes people get a lot of the Vietnam movies kind of lumped in together, but it's definitely no like Forrest Gump in Vietnam style Vietnam. There's no, there's interesting music choices, that's for sure. But there's definitely, there isn't any, Creedence Clearwater Revival and all those other, what we call the Vietnam classics.
It was very like uneasy feeling music, except for like when they played some of those songs. But I
think, yeah, like the score itself is really like moody and tense, and you never knew, like it's like people were, like it always felt like the rug was gonna get pulled out from somebody. It was like just like really, I don't want to say creepy, but it just felt tense, like just really, really tense. I don't know, Zach, you're always big on movie scores too. How did that make you feel? Like, or what kind of?
Yeah, the only parts of the score that I can remember are the ones in the more intense scenes, like when all the other cadets, I guess, like they held down D'Onofrio's character and started hitting him with the socks.
Yep.
like that with like the violin, like with the high pitch.
It's like freaky, but also I felt like weirdly there it is. I also felt like kind of half sad at the same time. Like it was just there are a lot of interestingly mixed emotions in there. So that was really creepy, but also really effective. Really in the end, really really cool. But yeah, like going right into it, it's the whole thing. I don't know, like again, really happy, Tina, that you saw it. But I think initially, did you recognize? We're gonna go right into like the first part of the movie where they're all doing their training, basic training, and boot camp. Did you recognize the drill sergeant guy?
No, I didn't. And this was the one that mentioned who he is. The only person I recognized was Vincent, and I was like, oh my god, that's him! But he looks so young, so it was like, I know it's him, but is he really him?
I watched this with my sister, and she hadn't seen this in a very long time, and so she's watching the whole movie, and she's seeing all these parts with Gomer Pyle, played by Vincent D'Onofrio. Is it Leonard Lawrence is his normal name, but then he gets renamed Gomer Pyle because the gunnery sergeant's just that guy. He's just gonna berate and treat you like garbage. He always plays these like people who just have these like slight pushes to like psychotic breaks. He's really good also in this movie with Jennifer Lopez called The Cell. Was it Jennifer Lopez? Yeah. It was, so he plays like a psychopath, and basically she has this like weird like technology where she can go inside his brain, and basically it's just this weird cracked out like wild like.
Is this a movie where they slice a horse?
Maybe.
I think this movie. I watched that movie where I think it was so strange that
Vince Vaughn's in it too, but it's also like it's a really weird, it's a wild movie. Like I think like it's one of those movies where it's like, man, like everybody should watch it just for like how wildly visually insane it is. But yeah, like he does those characters really, really well, and I think it started in Full Metal Jacket. But going back to the drill sergeant, Danny, if you want to enlighten the audience if they don't already know. Tell us a little bit about the actor who played the gunnery sergeant.
Yeah, so he was actually a drill sergeant in real life. And you might also know him from playing the Green Army Man in Toy Story.
He's the Green Army Man in Toy Story. That is correct.
So that was cool.
That is former Marine
R. Lee
Ermey. God rest in peace. He died in 2018. But I loved him also he had a History Channel show where he was they would go through like actual real life war weapons, and he would like go through the narrating history, all that stuff, and then he would actually like fire him in real life because he has the military training to do so, and it's just really, it was like he brought definitely authenticity to that movie because that whole sequence felt like hella real.
And he was in the Marine Corps.
Yeah. He indeed was in the Marine Corps. He's a staff sergeant, and then gunnery sergeant. Yeah.
So before we watch
Gunny,
this movie,
they call him Gunny.
Before we watched this movie, I hadn't seen a trailer or anything about it.
Oh, good for you.
And then, but the only thing I did, like I felt like I've seen at some point, was him being the drill sergeant.
That whole opening scene is
like in some parts,
probably the most recognizable part.
Yeah, Zach brought it up last week when he's talking about when he goes to Cowboy, and he's talking about how there's only two things that come out of Texas. It's steers and queers, and you sure don't look like a steer to me.
So that about narrows it down.
So that about narrows it down. Yeah.
Oh man.
He just threw a whole bunch that I can't even say
and
out
apparently,
here.
A lot of that
Are you
scene
a Peter
was
Puffer?
improvised.
I was like, holy crap! Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of it is improvised.
Improvised, which was crazy to me. Like to do that, and not break character, to not stutter, to not do anything,
or have someone else laugh
and do the whole scene. Yeah, I'm pretty sure some of like. D'Onofrio kind of like grinning a little bit, maybe
that had to be him corpsing a little bit because I was watching with my sister.
That had been a lot of character.
She's just like he's like that has to be like for real him breaking, and then like
sir, I can't help it, sir.
Yeah, and that's real. That's got to be real. And we go to what is it that this guy? What is it that Joker says? So I forgot the line that he says, but he's like, "Who said that?" And he just runs right over and just starts berating the dude to hell and like slapping him, and so that ends up being the main character of the movie. Is known as Joker. He's played by Matthew Modine so everybody will know Matthew Modine from the hit Netflix show Stranger Things. Zach, funnily enough, has still not seen.
Nope.
So let's make fun of him for like 4 seconds about that. How dare you? No, I'm kidding. He plays the head scientist in the Hawkins lab, the one that's that kind of like raises 11 and
Papa.
Yeah, that's him. That's like like that for me. That's I think what everybody knows him as right now. So he plays this character that's just going through basic training, and he almost gets like thrusted responsibility of Vincent D'Onofrio's character, Gomer Pyle. Yeah, like teach him, train him, learn him stuff, and like you see go all the basic training stuff, all the he's teaching him how to do stuff with his rifle, how to do everything properly, how to go up and down the obstacle. Like that was cool, and like a bit of like, hey, it's camaraderie and stuff, but you could still see that this dude's breaking, like mentally. Like that whole thing, like seeing his decline mentally, like how do you think that was what do you think it was effective, let's say Tina, like in seeing him just like psychotic break by the end of that whole sequence?
Well, like Nunez, I didn't watch the trailer, or I didn't know anything about the movie, so it took me off guard because I didn't know Joker, which is, we find out later on, it's the main character. I didn't know he was the main character, so seeing Leonard change from this like sweet boy and just his facial expression changed towards like that part where he has lost it completely, was like, I was like, okay, this movie's hasn't been an hour and we're already here. I was like, where's this movie going? Is this a horror movie? Like, what is happening? And to me, I think the point of no return was when they hit him with the soap, especially when Joker was the one that hit him with the soap. You could tell tell the hesitation, and they make the eye contact, and I think that was the point of no return for Leonard to be like.
He does it a few times too.
Yeah.
Everyone else kind of did it once.
Yeah.
I mean, because he was eating that jelly donut while everybody had to do push-ups. He was like sucking his thumb while people were doing burpees. Like, it was like to a point where like, man, something's gonna break.
Also, his pants down earlier in a scene where they were marching and he had his pants down at his ankles.
Yeah.
He was doing the same thing with sucking his thumb.
Yep. And again, like that's part of like probably breaking him to like that's part of breaking him too. Is just like everyone else is suffering because of me. This is all my fault, and then I gotta be the perfect good soldier. And then he does it too well, to the point where it's just like, all right, yeah, like this is bound to happen. You start seeing him like being good at the rifle. You're like, oh no, like this guy found the thing.
Starts talking to it.
Yeah. What was it? Charlene?
Or like, well, he was good with the rifle.
Yeah, and he was good. Well, it was really, what's funny too is, not funny, but very interesting, again, like just talk about how much of a like impact the movie has throughout the whole like training sequence. They talk about like, like they're saying their prayer like right before they go to sleep about their rifles, like there's many like it, but then, but this one is mine.
I'm nothing with my rifle.
My rifle's nothing without me. Like that whole bit, you're like, holy crap, that's heavy, but like that's part of the whole thing. You see also they're marching, and it's like, this is my rifle, and this is my gun. This is for fight, and this is for fun. I remember that originally. I was like, oh snap, because they did that in Family Guy, and so now I'm rewatching the movie. I was like, hey, Stewie did that one time, and that became like definitely a big thing there. There was a lot of random like reference. I feel like random. They're not some directly connected and some not directly connected to Family Guy cribbed off of this movie. But it was very, very. It's sort of like like a eye opener again. Like, dang, that's what a lot of this stuff is from.
There was a lot of stuff that I picked up on, and I was like, oh, I've heard of that or I've seen that somewhere. And it's cool to see. They sang happy
birthday to Jesus on Christmas Day. And that to me is like, is he serious right now? It's like, but that was part of the wild thing too. Is like, is Gunny serious? Is he just like, he's just trying to like break them by like having him say happy birthday, it's Christmas for Mr. Jesus, and he goes off on Joker for the whole like Holy Mary thing. That stuck out to me of just like, oh, that's that dude's breaking point. Is it like, is it not? Like, what's going on here? Like, I felt like everything was a mind game. In the whole like basic training sequence, but at the very end we get another iconic line where Gomer Pyle's just talking to his rifle, and he's just like, is that thing loaded? And he's just like, just looks at him with that really freaky, creepy stare.
That was really creepy.
Yeah, no, and the thing is, like, in that scene, Vincent D'Onofrio, his left eye looked like it was rolled, like, back, which was freaking me out. And just like,
because you don't see his is it iris, right?
Yeah.
You don't see like his iris. It's just like the white of his eyes.
Yeah, like you really just see the white.
His head is so like so far leaning,
but like
forward.
Still like looking at Joker, but not, and like he's just out there. Like he has what they talk about it later in the movie, and they talk about the stare. Or just like, oh, you haven't been in the shit.
The 1,000-yard.
The 1,000-yard stare. Like he was kind of there already, and so Joker's looking. He's like, are those live rounds? He's just like 7.62 millimeter full metal jacket.
And we have the name of the movie.
And he's just like that. Whenever I hear that, I'm like, ding ding, name of the movie. But also like, it's just really.
He did the thing.
Yeah, it's like he said it. the Leo pointing, like he did it. And yeah, it all culminates in him shooting the gunnery sergeant. I love, before he gets shot, he says one of my favorite lines. He's just like, it's like, what is this Mickey Mouse? What is this Mickey Mouse shit? And then he just goes there and he's like talking about like, like it's free. I was like, hey, he has live rounds in there, and he's just like, what is your major malfunction, numbnuts? Like that line.
But then he started to slow down and like he's like, oh,
he's
okay.
said that before in other things, and like that line has been said before, and like in games and other stuff like that. But yeah, like even then you see he's just like he's trying to slow down, but he's still berating him. It's like, homie, what'd you expect? Like you broke this dude beyond repair, and now he's just gonna pop you in the chest with an M14.
What's funny is that because that scene I had seen before, and I assumed that would be the end of the movie.
Oh man, look at you! I'm so glad you.
Because again, I've only seen scenes from the boot camp, nothing else.
He's like, I've only seen 1/3 of the movie, which is basically.
So I figured, okay, so
Parts of
like
the
the movie's
movie.
gonna end where he ends up shooting the drill sergeant.
Too.
I thought that was the end too, and then it was like, oh, okay, we have a whole different movie
another
now.
A whole hour and 20 left.
And what's
still.
great, because like after all this, like they graduate their basic training, and they're like, some of you are not gonna make it. It's like, oh, that's a stark reality. That's freaky.
But I feel like they didn't react to it. Like I feel like they all knew what they were there for, like to die.
Well, because that's part of the whole main theme of the movie is that like everybody, you just get like the whole process of all this just dehumanizes you and like takes away a piece of you, and like you just either have to compartmentalize it or you're gone. Like in some way, shape, every character in some way, shape, or form, like disassociated or just became like a base, animal instinct person, or just became insane, or just like mentally like had to, just couldn't handle a lot of these things and either had a break or something like that.
It starts off with the movie, them getting the haircut.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the start of like them being someone else, like changing.
Yeah, you're who you were before. You're getting that junk completely shaved off, and you saw all the pile of hair, and even then, like at the end, they start getting their assignments, and he goes to Joker. He's like, "What the hell? Like your military journalism?" He's just like, "Yep, I was a school paper. Suck it." And then wild stuff happens. But after that, he gets shipped off to Vietnam, and he's a field reporter.
Starts.
Yeah, it's like the second part of the movie kind of goes in. So that was pretty. It's cool to see, just like, but you needed that. Like you need all the craziness that he experienced in basic training. But now he's like, oh, my military job is for a newspaper, basically, or like a news reporting. Stars and Stripes reporting was what it was.
So when I started watching the movie, I thought this movie was gonna be like one of those like happy ending movie where like, oh, Leonard had to go through all this struggle.
Have you never seen a Stanley Kubrick movie?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think anyone here except me has seen
Other than The Shining.
I've seen The Shining.
That's the only one I've seen.
Happy ending? Like,
I know, but like, it starts as like, oh, Leonard's gonna be like that guy that struggle, like, and then ends up saving everybody. And I was like, oh, this is great. All these people that are being mean to him, he's gonna save them, and like happy ending. And then obviously that turns not into that. And I was like, okay, this might be a horror movie is what it is, right? And I feel like I blinked.
Well, war is hell.
Yeah, but like, when he's in the bathroom and he starts shooting or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I blink and I feel like I'm watching a whole different movie. And I was like, I feel like this is a 3 movie in one. But something that I don't know if I'm right on this or not. Like, I feel like the Joker didn't want to be part of it, or didn't want to desensitize to who he was as a human, because he didn't have to take the journalist like job, right? Like he got the training as everybody else. And then even there, when he's with like at war, when he's with his friend, and the friend is like, "Oh, I want to go where the war is, where the action is." He's like, "No, like
you don't.
you don't want that." And I feel like he didn't want to like be in that part of war, and I thought it was like kind of different to what everybody else.
Yeah, like, and you even saw it. His body armor jacket had the peace. He had the peace pin, and then he also had the born to kill, which that's the whole idea. Is just like, I'm born to kill because that's what you're making me right now. But hey, man, like, this is, I don't really necessarily agree with it.
Even the one, I don't know what general or what position he was or rank he was. In that one scene where they have like all the bodies that are covered in white, like he says like he's like, yeah, like you said, he called them out for wearing the peace sign, but then also have born to kill, which is a
He's like, sir, it's the duality of man. He's like, what? Yeah, the duality of man. It's it's very Carl Jung. He says Jungian because it's from philosopher Carl Jung. Like, and he's like, yeah, it's very much of that. And he's just like, look, I just want to ask for one thing. And it's like, ask for you. I forgot what he says. He says something of like I to obey my orders like the word of God or something. And he's just like saying like, I need just to be all in on this. Tell people to be all in on this. And it's like, damn, buddy, like chill out, but also okay, I guess.
And that character, he's played by Bruce Boa, I think is his name, who was in Empire Strikes Back as.
Oh, really?
I forget the name of the character. I'm gonna look it up right now, actually, as we're talking about this. Because when I looked him up, because when I saw him in the scene, I'm like, okay, I've seen this guy before, but I couldn't remember exactly where I had seen it or where I'd seen him. So when I looked him up, I saw that he played this character.
Oh, that's
General Carlos Riken.
Riken, yeah. It's you have to call, follow General Riken. Like everybody, yeah, he's the guy in Empire. They're evacuating the rebel base.
Which the movie came out 7 years.
Yeah, he's a colonel.
Before.
So he's the colonel in Full Metal Jacket. So he's the guy talking about like, yeah, you just gotta, do what I say. Like you gotta do the orders. We're gonna get it done. But yeah, this whole second, like Tina mentioned, this whole second part of the movie is just like the realization of like why these people are just kind of like becoming numb to being human and just like having to go through it all. Like you have some people like getting to the point where like, oh, I have to, one guy's like, oh, I respect my enemy, even though he's like, celebrating next to one of their dead bodies, like almost all kind of weird in a weird appreciation post. It's like, we came into their city and blah, 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 but they're big, they're really tough and strong. Then you have this other dude. It was great. It was played by Adam Baldwin, a very young Adam Baldwin. They called him Animal Mother. I totally forgot he was in the movie, but he is like, big macho war guy with an M60 machine gun running around. And he's just, and you have all, some of the other teammates just tell him like, or sorry, squad mates like, yeah, this guy's it's kind of dumb, but he's good in a fight. Like he can take them all out. And but before that, like we get Joker and God, what's his name? This kid. He had like a really like Rafterman. Yeah, Rafterman. He like they're both like kind of like on that like just hanging out, like taking pictures, and then they get solicited by one of these prostitutes, and she says a very famous line. She does what I call the Two Live. It's basically the Two Live Crew sample because she just does literally the "me so horny, me love you long time," and then like it's messed up because then they're just out here like trying to like haggle her down in price. I was like, oh come on. That felt really like weirdly uncomfortable. I was like, oh come on. And then they get their camera stolen, and he's just like, yeah, whatever.
I mean, the whole movie is like uncomfortable.
Yeah, and on purpose.
Yeah, like a lot of the language, a lot of the dehumanizing, derogatory names and stuff. You're like, damn, like this movie,
dude. Yeah,
it's just going full out.
And when they're in the Da Nang base and the Tet offensive starts, and he jumps right into the machine gun. Joker jumps right into the machine gun and starts shooting down. Like the would-be invaders, the North Viet Cong trying to come in and shoot. And that was the same time that like before Rafterman's like, I want to be in it. Like Tina May's like, oh, I want to be in the fight. And you're like, oh no, man, no, you don't. You don't want to be a part of this, dude. And then you have we mentioned now like one guy before, they talk about Joker, like he hasn't really been in war, hasn't been in combat. He's like, oh, because you don't have the 1,000-yard stare. You just kind of look off into somewhere and just freak out, like. And and I think that's where like a lot of the internet memes are like the dogs looking out in the distance, and you have all the helicopters.
Yeah,
like that's where that comes. That's where the people talk about the 1,000-yard stares, like that stare of the dog, just trauma, like just doing terrible stuff. What else? The part that was really messed up was the helicopter ride when the journal.
Oh yeah, he just starts killing everybody.
Like farmers.
Remember because their editor, he kept saying, it's like, no, we just need puff pieces, whatever. And then Joker's like, no, I think there's actually gonna be like an offensive. Like, I think this is gonna happen, guys. Like, no, we need to win. So we need to say that we killed an officer or whatever. He's like, sure, I guess. What do you want? Like he says it in like a smart ass comment, like, what do you want to have kill, a sapper or an officer? And the editor is like, whatever. And then like he comes back and tells him that, hey, I was kind of right. He's like, hey, well, you know what? You go up into the combat zone now. Like almost sending him out there out of spite. And then the young kid Rafterman is just like, yeah, I want to go too. He's like, you know what? Yeah, you can go. You're watching over him. He's just like freaking out. And that's where we get that, the door gunner is just shooting indiscriminately at Viet Cong. It's like, no wonder they hate them being there. And they're just all like, even later on where they have that whole battle, some of the squad mates die, and they're filming him while they're filming out to Surfin' Bird. Which again, the musical choices were spot on for being so like not what you think of a Vietnam movie. Like they were perfect. Like Surfin' Bird made perfect sense to see. Like people were like bandaged up, burnt, and just kind of like waiting while there's actual like combat happening, and there's like these guys still taking video. It's just like it's making a show out of it. And they interview people, and you have some of the soldiers like, oh, they're ungrateful, like they want to, we're shooting at the wrong ones. It's like, dude, what's wrong? Like what's going on? It's like that kind of warped perspective, and because they're just out there and being told what to do, and it's like, all right, like that's it, like we're not fighting. And people are like, oh, we're fighting for freedom. It's like, you really think we're fighting for freedom? Like no, like we're fighting because someone said so, like they forced us to send here. And you see that, and you almost see like the kind of like resentment and the kind of just like reflection of just like, what the hell are we doing here? And especially as like they see people dying, and and it kind of boils over when they're on that patrol, and like some of their squad mates get shot by that sniper. Yeah, and they're just like, screw this, we're just gonna bum rush it and disobey orders to go take out the sniper, like out of spite and like revenge, because they've had enough.
Because of what's his name, 8-Ball, I think, and the other guy.
Yeah, it was 8-Ball, and then Doc. That got shot, and then Cowboy just stands in the wrong spot and just gets sniped through a building, which was a pretty rad shot, but also it's kind of sad. And that's that whole time where you still see like Joker still just like, this is really happening, and this is like it's still like, it's not like really hitting him, but it's just like he's finally seeing it. He's like, man, this really does suck. Like, oh, there were political dissidents I just saw in a mass grave, and now squad mates are dying, and and in the end, it all kind of culminates to where they take down the sniper, and the sniper is like this teenage girl, just with an AK-47. So that means they're trash. Like, that's not a sniper rifle. That's just an AK. Like, and they finally take her down, and who takes her down is the freaking like Rafterman, who just goes from like super scared and then becomes super like, you saw that after that he like gunned her down, and she's still alive, which is also the messed up part. He's all like gung ho about it. He's like, yeah, I'm one of you guys, I did it, and he's just like. They go, and Kubrick does this great, like he sees like the reaction to everybody right before they decide what to do with the girl, and they go to Rafterman, and he's just like bloodthirsty, like he's in there, he's like, yeah, like I killed somebody, like it's nuts, like it's just, you see that whole theme of just like losing a part of who you are, like with war and stuff.
And really Joker freaky. Still wanted to like save her.
Yeah, he's like, we got to do something. He's like, no, she's dead meat. Damn, that was the phrase that hit it hard. I was like, that's dead meat. And like, it was almost like a mercy kill, but like he had to like, just close off the emotion and still like do it, which,
I mean, she's like suffering there.
And she even then says it. She's like, shoot me. I was like, yep.
She says it like 30 times.
Like, please, like just do it. And it's just like, he gets it done. And then it's like, and what's cool is Joker's voiceover narrations like degrade downward from like being more introspective, philosophical, and then the end is just like he's just like almost kind of accepted it too. Just like, yeah, this is what we are now. Like we're just living weapons, going through the whole thing, and what's gonna get me through it? The whole company singing the Mickey Mouse Club theme song, and which, like, that was that to me is the scene that I remember the most from this movie. Like all the times I've seen it is that it's just they're walking through a burning city, like Football's bombed out, and just like singing through the Mickey Mouse theme song, the club theme song. Sorry, like
it is a big contrast between the setting and the moods between like with all the soldiers.
Yeah, like they're just like, hey, that's what gets us through the day, right? Like it's a weird coping mechanism that we're all, we're in a brotherhood, and the Mickey Mouse Club theme song is also like almost a weird, if you think about it thematically, it's kind of like a brotherhood thing too, because it's like you can, there's a place for you and me and whatever. If you listen to the lyrics, it makes sense. But yeah, you may not hear that song the same ever again.
No,
I've never heard the song the same since watching like that movie as a teenager.
I've never heard the song.
You guys never watched old Mickey Mouse stuff? No, but yeah, like I, as a kid, again, watching this, like seeing that movie, not a kid, like as a teenager watching the movie, is like, wow, that's really freaky. And then like later on in life, like you go to Disney World, you hear that song, like, 1,000-yard stare.
You have the 1,000-yard stare.
I have the stare.
You're the Chihuahua in that meme.
I absolutely am. This is only all that time I saw the Full Metal Jacket. Stanley Kubrick can't stop traumatizing me. Freaking The Shining in 2001, and now this one. Freaky, man. But I know, like, so yeah, like there were again a lot of references that you had, Zach, like the gunnery sergeant stuff, all of that. Yeah. The Two Live Crew song. Were you able to catch any others? Any other like quotable stuff?
I'd have to think on it, but I know like at the moment, like while watching it, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I have seen this somewhere.
Yeah.
Like not knowing exactly where from, but it is.
Well, the other part was the me so horny part, because there's the one scene. There's the one scene in 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Oh yeah, he also goes, me so horny. Yeah.
Where Steve Carell's character is trying to say, oh yeah, I've had sex, yeah, this, and she would say, yeah, she would talk dirty to me, she would, yeah, and then she'd say, oh, me so horny, me. It's so stupid, but it's hilarious.
Now you know where he got that from, because he watched Full Metal Jacket. There are a lot of other little things like the Born to Kill helmet. I was like, oh yeah, like that imagery is originally from that movie. Like a lot of the other stuff, like What's Your Major Malfunction, again, the Mickey Mouse Club theme song thing, all the musical reference, like the musical choices. Like the one that I hadn't remembered until rewatching the movie was Surfin' Bird, because that was a whole like Family Guy bit for like a year. It was like really, really, really funny, but at the same time it made sense. It was like it's like a party song, and it's like, oh, but these people are like suffering and fighting in a war, and they're being kind of picked through. There are a couple other ones. Like I think there was a sort of like there was a song I think they were playing when they were in the bunks, like in their journalism crew, and that's when they start talking about like the 1,000-yard stare, and it's just kind of like how like traumatizing this stuff can be. I forgot there was another song I remember hearing. I was like, oh wow, like, and then watching with my sister, she was like, is this song from the movie? I was like, I mean, it's used in it, but it's not. It's been used in other stuff, but like even the beginning song, or like the Hello Vietnam. I'll go ahead and bring up the whole. If you want to, Danny, read down the musical list, and you'll be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, like,
I was just pulling it up here.
Chapel of Love was the other big one, and then Surfin' Bird.
Painted Black towards the end.
That was the credits.
That was the whole credits.
Yeah. Again, it ending with Painted Black makes you think like, damn, like no color and life anymore. It's just black. It's really freaky.
So his daughter Vivian Kubrick did the score.
Yeah, she did. I looked that up too, but yeah. But yeah, I think she's also an actress, which is funny enough. So I think it's really like, if this is your first Stanley Kubrick movie, like you're in for. I mean, like I don't want to say it's one of his tamer movies, but like it's easier to get than like trying to watch something pretty abstract like 2001: A Space Odyssey. I mean, I think Tina, you said you've seen The Shining?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you've seen The Shining, so that one is like pretty straight up as a horror movie. But I think Danny, you've never seen any of his stuff, right? Until now.
I've seen The Shining.
You've seen The Shining, okay. And Zach, you've seen nothing, right?
I've seen nothing.
So again, this being your first movie, like usually everybody's first Stanley Kubrick movie is The Shining, and then they go to something like
Space Odyssey, maybe.
2000. Then they go straight to 2001, and then if you want to see, like, you're talking about like stuff that's like really uncomfortable to watch. A Clockwork Orange is also really one of those really uncomfortable ones to watch. And then I think, but before that, if they want to get into like something of his that's not too, it is kind of out there but still entertaining, it would be like Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb.
It's like on the top of my list to watch.
Well, there you go. So now you have a taste of what the director does or likes to do. It's a little satirical. It's a little not satire, but it's like it's very.
But it is a black comedy.
Yeah, exactly. So Full Metal Jacket had some of those moments too, where it's just like, hey, this is dark.
The whole like first maybe 10, 20 minutes.
20 minutes of it. It's like, this is funny, but it's also messed up.
Is that like a signature of him? Like, obviously, I only seen The Shining and this movie.
Oh, Work and No Play with Jack a Doughboy.
But like, you know how like the character goes from being a sweet guy, like a quote unquote normal guy, to being to losing it. Like I feel like The Shining. I feel like The Shining was the same thing. Is that like a signature thing for him?
Kind of, where somebody's in a way, and then over the course of their experiences, they change into like I mean, there are character arcs, but like this is like a thing where like one could consider like a decline or just like an irrevocable change.
Like you saying that, like after you said like, oh, he also did The Shining, I was like, okay, there's some similarities there.
Yeah, like there's people having mental breaks for sure. Like, Jack and Gomer Pyle share that in common. Except Gomer Pyle maybe was dealing with his own ghosts. Message! No, I'm kidding. But I think, I now, Zach, I think you have a taste of much of his other style of work. But with that, I think going into if you're going to rate it, I don't know if it's something you guys want to rate, because it's definitely one of these like, oh, this is one of the like top celebrated movies ever made or stuff like that. Definitely like when it comes to like war movies or like Vietnam style movies. It's definitely up there.
It's different to rate, I feel, because it's not like, oh, it was a great movie and I enjoyed it, so like 7 or 8, This is more like
thought-provoking.
It's a thought-provoking. It's a good movie, but it's like I didn't enjoy it because it's obviously so like
it's not meant to enjoy.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd watch it again, but I do give it the props of like, yeah, it is a good movie because it does make you like think, and the way that it was structured and just all the thoughts you get while watching the movie. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but
okay. He's like unrateable because it's so complex.
Like I'd give it a high rating if it was just for movie standpoint, but like enjoyment factor, I'd be like, nah.
Man, yeah, he's like, I didn't enjoy this. Yeah. All right, it's art. It made you feel something. Good job. Tina, what do you think?
So I'm not sure because I feel like I have to rate 2 different movies, like Part A and Part B. True. For me, like Part A was like, I would say probably an 8 for me, because I was like, I didn't know it was gonna be like a happy ending kind of movie, and then it turns to maybe it's a horror movie, and I really like kind of like when a movie keeps you guessing and you have to discover what kind of movie or what's the next thing that's gonna happen. So that not getting it right every time I thought something was gonna be a certain way really kept me entertained. So I would say in that aspect an A. The war part, I kept asking Danny like, is this based on a true story? Because if it is, like, I cannot finish this movie. Like, I would not finish this movie if this is based on a true story.
I mean, the Vietnam War was real.
The surgeon was real too, apparently. So, there were some real aspects to it for sure. The second part, like, since I'm splitting into the second part for me, I would probably rate it a 6. Like, it's your standard, war movie. I would say I was entertained the whole time.
Your standard war is hell kind of thing.
Yeah, like, I feel like the only thing that set it apart for me was the whole, like, having that Part A and that Part B, right? But other than that, to me, that second part was kind of like any other war movie that I would probably see. But Part A definitely made it a different movie and would set it apart from other war movies.
Right. To go through that, like, I did like the first half with the drill instructor and everything a lot more than the second half.
Okay, nice. Okay, Zach.
Oh, me?
Yeah, actually no. I'll take that back. I'll go and you recommended it, and you've never seen it. Yeah. So I guess I don't want any of our thoughts though, like influencing your final take on it. But me, from somebody knowing that this is one of these like definitely like all time like highly regarded classics. I don't know. I would. I don't want to disagree in saying that. The only thing I would disagree is saying that the second part is not as entertaining as the first. Is because I feel like the second part, though, to your point, the second part is made better because you've seen the first part. So that's why I still see it like, yeah, the movie's split in almost like two parts, but it's still part of one cohesive whole, which, you know, that they have to all tie in together thematically. And it's just like seeing the real, like that and like Apocalypse Now are usually like the two big like, holy crap, the Vietnam War was a real shit show, kind of like, or it really messed people up kind of thing. That, and I think there's a Tom Cruise movie, I think Born on the 4th of July, which is about a Vietnam vet. Those are like the three main movies you go and see, like, oh yeah, like Vietnam was really bad.
Is Tropic Thunder also?
No. They were making a movie about Vietnam. It's a movie about trying to make a Vietnam movie, and it's really ridiculous, over the top action. And especially like, yeah, like there are a lot of like weird, like those little things that just like you see from the great character acting and the way shots are filmed, like in this stark like boom explosion. It's just like, and like almost to the point where like the some of the war stuff is very subtle and like, yeah, like explosion and some people got shot, like, yeah, you see a big blood spatter, and then you have that like whatever the the American troops would try to fire back, like just explosions and gunfire everywhere all across the side of a building, and you're like, holy shit, that's overkill, which is again thematically the whole idea of everything, and like it really hits his message as well. And so like I would give it like, so like again the ending to me like still really hits home. It's just like, wow, like the war finally even broke Joker because he had to mercy kill this girl. And at that point, he's just all singing along. They're all singing along to the Mickey Mouse song, which is, again, still really, like, sort of traumatizing for me. And so, with that all ending on a message, and then ends on Painted Black, which is awesome. Like, that, I would give this one, like, a solid, like, at least, if I'm being conservative, it would be an 8.5. Yeah. If I was being really generous, I'd say a 9. But I would say 8.5 because, you know, again, like it's some of his other stuff's better, but again, it's meant to make you feel uncomfortable, like on purpose, and just kind of be like, yeah, this was really messed up.
I feel like Painted Black is the iconic.
Is the Mickey Mouse song like a kid song?
Yes.
Okay, so you know when you are an adult, like when you're older, and you only can remember the songs when you were a kid. Like I don't know if this makes any sense to you, like. I feel like the only songs I remember, like other than like, you know, new songs or 80 songs, is usually like the songs like when I was a child. And I wonder like the purpose of them singing that song at that point, it was like the only human part left on them. It was like when they were kids and this is the song that they remember. I don't know.
Could be. Yeah, it's because I think originally that song came out and like it was recorded and made famous in the 60s. So like those were, they were kids.
When the song came out.
Yeah, they were younger kids, and now this was happening in 1968. So... yeah, Ted Offensive, 68. Sorry, the history nerd in me is coming out. Yeah, so January of 68, and then they're fighting through all this stuff the first half of 1968, and it's, yeah, like, hey, that song's fresh in their minds. So they're like, okay, yeah, like, early 60s, we grew up with that, so hey, let's all bond, because we were drafted, and this sucks.
All the chants that they learned while they were in training, and none of those were the ones that ended up singing. Like, they sung one of, like, a kid song.
Exactly. Like, it's more just like, let's remember we were happier when we were kids, but, you know, we're in war. Message! Like, it's really, it hits home. Yeah, it's really good movie. And it's actually not crazy long, surprisingly. Like, I was watching this with my sister. She's like, oh, how long is this? Like, it's less than 2 hours. Oh, really? Let's sit down and watch it. And so, it's, you know, it's still captivating in that regard. Close us out, Zach. What'd you think?
So I kind of leaning... or like my thoughts are kind of similar to Tina's, where both parts of the movie I have different thoughts and opinions about them, which is what makes giving like a rating kind of difficult. But I do have like my general like overall thoughts on it, because I enjoyed the first part of the movie much more than I did the second part. I figured that, well, I hope that there would have been more of the first part. I would have enjoyed the movie maybe a little bit more if it had more of that first part before then it changed, changed tonally to the second part. Because the first part, I would give it like an 8.5, 9 out of 10.
It makes sense.
And then the rest of the movie, it felt I can't think of a good word, but I felt like it was more like I would give it
by
more
the numbers.
Kind of. And I'm for that part I'm leaning more towards like a 6.5 for the rest of for the second half. Overall, I would say maybe no more than like a 7 out of 10.
I would argue watch it. It's hard. It's a tough watch, like because of emotionally, but like watch things closer because there's a lot of stark. There's a lot of telling imagery, the way shots are framed, and a lot of like it's really, like again, like some of the lines again, they're really forceful and they're really brash, but it's just like this is what's going on because he gets to that point where he's hanging out with Cowboy and his like really. Is that Lufthogs? Like they're like super like hard. This is a hardened crew of soldiers in Vietnam. So like you have all that there happening, and it's there. But I can respect that because you gave it a watch. I'm cool with that. Yeah.
Well, at least for 3 of us here, we knocked it off our watch list finally.
Exactly. And Danny, I don't know if you got a chance to look it up, but I remember as Gomer Pyle, it's an old reference even for me, which is a reason why I think he named Leonard Gomer Pyle, right? So?
Yeah, so it's from a comedy that aired on CBS in the 60s.
That makes sense. Okay.
And it was a spin-off from the Andy Griffith Show.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay, cool. 150 episodes, right?
Damn.
That's nuts. Thank you, Data Guy, because I didn't even know that. Now that's going to be burned in my brain forever somehow. Cool. That's why he made that reference. He's just like, you're Gomer Pyle because you're just dumb. Oh, man. Nuts, guys. If you have not seen it yet, we mentioned it earlier in the episode. You kind of got through a whole rundown of the entire movie. But, it's still up on HBO Max right now as of this recording, which is in May of 2023. Hopefully it stays there.
It is a Warner Brothers movie, so it should be there.
Okay, good. If not, go buy it.
Unless they decide to take it off, like they have for like half their property.
It's on Max, where you go to watch HBO and maybe some of their Warner Brothers stuff, and maybe that's a whole nother conversation. But I like to think that at least you guys are a little more you have gained a wider perspective by seeing this movie at least. And, you can judge other Vietnam-style movies if you watch it. Like We Were Soldiers and you can take those Forrest Gump scenes with a little more seriousness maybe. But definitely we invite you, like we do every week, join in on the conversation. If you are a big Kubrick fan and you really enjoy Full Metal Jacket, or if you've never seen the movie before and want to know more about it, or if you've seen it a bit and got different things from maybe the panel that we had on today's episode, we'd love for you to reach out, and keep the discussion going. You can follow us and talk to us through social media, which is on Twitter and Instagram, which is Popcorn Watchlist. With that, we're going to be doing a slight pivot because next week we'll be talking all about Guardians Volume 3.
I'm not ready.
You're not ready?
I say I am ready, but I think deep down I'm not. I don't know.
Because, it's going to be apparently the end of a couple of characters as we know them.
Is this like the final movie?
So,
Final Guardians.
It's the final Guardians movie. I know I have... At least already, since they released the Volume 3 soundtrack, I have Since You've Been Gone by Rainbow still stuck in my head ever since that trailer came out. But so I'm excited at least just to see how that gets woven in. James Gunn working his magic. He's been, if it's anything, a little toned down version of like, Peacemaker or anything, it's going to be great. So I cannot wait, and I hope you all can't wait either. So stay tuned for that episode next week. And from everybody here at the Popcorn Watch List, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time.